Is VR the future of gaming? Virtual reality has been a curiosity for a long time. The creation of perspective art in Renaissance Europe display convincing depictions of spaces that did not exist. This is referred to as the multiplying of artificial worlds. In the 1950s, Morton Heilig described a device he called the experience theater that would engage sight, sounds, touch, and smell. The VR porn back then must have been pretty wild. He called it a sensorama, and it predated digital computing, so it was a large mechanical device. In 1968, Ivan Sutherland, with the help of his students, created the first head-mounted VR device. The device was so heavy that it was suspended from the ceiling. The intimidating appearance inspired the name of the device, the Sword of Damocles. It looks like some sort of torture device. From the 1970s to the 1990s, VR devices were mostly used for commercial applications, medical, flight simulation, automobile industry design, and military training. David M. was the first artist to create a navigable virtual reality world at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. In 1979, Eric Howlett created the Large Expanse Extra Perspective Optical System, called LEAP for short. The device created a stereoscopic image with a wide enough field of view to create a convincing sense of space. The LEAP system looks essentially like the first iteration of the modern VR headset. The term virtual reality was popularized by Jaron Lanier, one of the modern pioneers to the field. Lanier's company, VPL Research, developed multiple VR devices, most notably the Data Glove, which was licensed to toy company Mattel, who used it to create the Power Glove. In 1991, Sega announced the Sega Vr headset for the Mega Drive home device. It used LCD screens, stereo headphones, and inertial sensors to track movement. And honestly, this thing looks pretty dope. Looks like some shit you'd see in Cyberpunk 2077. After this, there was a few years of companies and artists using these technologies to create virtual arcades and immersive art pieces. In 1995, Nintendo's Virtual Boy was released, and it was pretty bad. The system had horrible-looking graphics and was known to cause headaches, nausea, and seizures. After this, there was a long period of indifference in the VR world. This wouldn't effectively end until 2010, when Palmer Luckey designed the first prototype of the Oculus Rift. The prototype was only capable of rotational tracking. In 2012, the Rift was presented for the first time at E3. Facebook purchased Oculus in 2014 for approximately $3 billion. In early 2014, Valve introduced their Steam Sight prototype. This device was a precursor to the HTC Vive. The Vive was released in 2015. The Vive was released with wall-mounted trackers called the Lighthouse. This pretty much brings us to modern consumer VR. The Oculus and HTC devices, along with the Valve Index, continue to dominate the consumer VR market. In 2015, when the HTC Vive was released, I was at a friend's house on Christmas Day, and he got the Vive for Christmas. We fired that baby up, and it was like a religious experience. There were limited game options at the time, but I recall us playing Job Simulator the whole day. We were looking at the future of video games. This was it. This was the new modern way to game. Until it wasn't. Why did we stop playing after a week or two? Well, one problem was there was a limited number of games, and the games were short and had low replayability. They were all practically cute tech demos. Then I just kind of forgot about VR for a few years. I honestly thought VR was just a fad that had died out. Then a few years ago, I bought an Oculus Quest 1, built a new PC, and discovered that VR hadn't died at all. It had continued to be developed while I wasn't looking. There are now incredible new VR experiences with loads of replayability, games like Pavlov VR, Blade and Sorcery, and Half-Life Alyx. So why is it so common to this day to hear people call VR a fad? In 2018, Iberdrola, a world-leading energy company, projected that virtual reality is one of the technologies with the highest projected potential for growth. Global Data released projections in November of 2021 that by 2030 virtual reality would be a $51 billion industry. So why do so many gamers still dismiss it? Well, here's my theory. You know how you remember games from your childhood so fondly? I have great memories of playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PlayStation 2. In my head, it looks beautiful. It has modern day graphics. It's refined to modern controls, and it's still one of the best campaigns ever created. So then why, when I play the old game, does it not hold up to my memories? It doesn't look modern, it doesn't feel modern, so why do I remember it that way? Well, it was all that in 2005, and that's when I played it. People are always astounded by the technologies of the time. Console and PC gaming has been around for decades. Xboxes and PlayStations have a billion new generations, and PC gaming changes every single day. Virtual reality is still in its relative infancy. Most headsets have only had 2 to 3 generations, but the technology is catching up quick. Facebook, or Meta, continues to innovate the Quest 2 every day. The Vive and Index are still pretty great, and there are less known companies like Vario making strides in VR technology with their Aero device. Sure, their device costs like $4,000, but when that technology trickles down and becomes cheaper, and it will be incredible. So is VR the future of gaming? I think people will always play traditional type games, but as innovations in VR headsets, haptic feedback gloves, and vests and suits, and modern trackers continues, the niche of people who love VR will continue to grow. Maybe one day the VR gamers won't be the niche anymore, but VR is most certainly one of the futures of gaming.